In July, a farmer in eastern China walked out to a field he had planted 3 months earlier. 150 mu of sesame, about 25 acres. Every plant in it was dead. Nobody stole it. There was no storm, no blight, no drought. Nothing had gone wrong with the weather, and nothing had gone wrong with the soil. He had sprayed it himself 4 days earlier with a chemical mixture he had asked an artificial intelligence to recommend. The AI answered. He followed the answer. The crop died overnight. In this video, we are going to walk through exactly what he asked, exactly what he was told, and exactly why it killed the field. Because the reason is much simpler and much worse than most people covering this story have realized. The farmer's surname is Wu. Chinese reports call him Uncle Wu. He is 67 years old, and he farms in Chuzhou, in Anhui province. He is not a man who distrusts technology. That is the part everyone skips. For months before this, he had been using an AI assistant for farming questions. When to plant? What was wrong with a leaf? How much of something to use? And by his own account, it had been good. It had been right, over and over, for long enough that he stopped double-checking it. So in the middle of July, he asked it what to spray on his sesame field to control the weeds and the insects. It gave him a list of 4 chemicals. To understand what happened next, you need one piece of information about how herbicides work. It takes about 30 seconds, and without it, the rest of this story is just a sad news item. Herbicides are selective. That is the entire point of them. A weed is a plant. A crop is a plant. A chemical that simply killed plants would be useless to a farmer because it would kill everything in the field. So agricultural chemistry is built around targeting. A herbicide is designed to kill one broad category of plant while leaving another category standing. The 2 categories are grasses and broadleaf plants. A grass-selective herbicide kills grasses and spares broadleaf crops. A broadleaf herbicide does the opposite. It kills broadleaf plants and spares grasses. Which one you use depends entirely on what you planted. Sesame is a broadleaf plant. One of the 4 chemicals the AI recommended was foamsafen. Foamsafen is a broadleaf herbicide. It is registered in China for use on soybean fields. And on sesame, it is not merely a bad idea, it is explicitly prohibited. Because sesame is exactly the kind of plant it is designed to destroy. The AI recommended a chemical whose entire function is killing plants of the type he had planted. Now, a reasonable person would ask at this point, which AI was it? I cannot tell you, and I want to be clear that this is not me withholding it. No source names the product. Not the original Chinese report, not the state broadcaster that ran the video, not a single one of the English outlets that picked it up afterwards. One Chinese language outlet noted the omission directly and suggested it may be deliberate because the product is domestic. So when I say an AI assistant in this video, that is not vagueness. That is the limit of what is actually known, and I would rather tell you that than guess at a brand name to make the story tidier. What we do know is what the company said afterwards, and it is the most important quote in this entire story. When Wu contacted the vendor's customer service, they told him the software has no independent knowledge base. Its answers are assembled out of publicly available content from the internet. They logged his complaint. They offered him nothing. Sit with that answer for a second, because it is not a denial. It is a description. The company is not saying the AI made an unusual mistake. It is saying the product does not hold agricultural knowledge, has never held agricultural knowledge, and was never designed to. It reassembles text that already existed somewhere else. And here is what that means for the months of correct answers Wu received before this one. Those months were not evidence of anything. A system with no knowledge base has no internal record of being right. It cannot get better at being right, because it is not tracking whether it was. Every answer it produces is generated the same way as every other answer. including the 80 that were correct and the one that was not. Wu was not gradually earning trust in a system that was gradually proving itself. He was, without knowing it, running the same coin flip 81 times. So, the spray. The mixture went into the tank of an agricultural drone. This is completely ordinary in Chinese farming now. A drone flies a programmed grid over the field at low altitude and applies the chemical evenly across the whole area in a single pass. That efficiency is normally the selling point. Here, it meant there was no partial application, no test corner, no section that got missed. The full mixture went across the full 150 mu, correctly and thoroughly, exactly as instructed. The seedlings began dying almost immediately. In his own words, on camera, spray this, and by the next day, the seedlings will not survive. They die faster. By morning, 25 acres of sesame, 3 months of work, and the whole of that season's income from that land was standing dead in the ground. There was nothing to salvage. You cannot wash a systemic herbicide out of a plant. Once it has moved into the tissue, the plant is already finished. It just has not fallen over yet. The loss is estimated at around 150,000 yuan, roughly $20,500 US. I want to flag that figure honestly. It is Wu's own estimate, reported in Chinese coverage. No insurance adjuster produced it, and no agricultural authority has confirmed it. There is no lawsuit. There is no compensation. There is no regulatory finding. As far as the public record shows, nothing at all has happened to anyone except the farmer, and this is where the story stops being about one field. There is no mechanism here. That is the actual finding. If a human agronomist had given Wu that recommendation, there would be a name, a license, a professional body, and in most jurisdictions, a liability. If a chemical company had printed the wrong crop on a label, there would be a regulator and a recall. An AI assistant is neither. It is not licensed. It is not certified. It holds no professional duty of care, and by the vendor's own account, it does not claim to know anything. It occupies the role of an expert without occupying any of the obligations that make an expert accountable. Wu did not lose his crop because he was careless. He lost it because he consulted something that looks exactly like an expert from the outside and is structurally not one on the inside, and there is currently nothing in the system that would have told him the difference. I looked for other cases. I want to be careful here, because it would be easy to tell you this is happening constantly, and I could not find evidence that it is. I found one close comparison. In August of last year, a 60-year-old man in the United States replaced the salt in his diet with sodium bromide after asking a chatbot for a substitute. He spent 3 weeks in hospital with hallucinations and paranoia. That case was written up in a medical journal. 2 cases, 12 months apart, on opposite sides of the world. One is a man's health. One is a man's harvest. What they have in common is not the technology. It is the shape of the decision. In both, a person with no specialist training used a general-purpose chatbot in place of a domain expert on a question involving a chemical and a dose. The exact category of question, where being approximately right is the same as being completely wrong. 2 is not a pattern. I'm not going to tell you it is, but it is a shape. And it is worth being able to recognize. There is one more detail I keep returning to. Every one of the 4 chemicals the AI listed is real. All 4 are registered agricultural products, sold legally in China, sitting on shelves right now. It did not invent anything. It did not hallucinate a compound that does not exist. Several English language reports got that wrong and printed chemical names that are not real substances. The failure was quieter than that and much harder to catch. It named a real product correctly for the wrong crop, which is the version you cannot spot by checking whether the answer sounds made up. It doesn't sound made up. It sounds like an answer. So that is where this one lands. Uncle Wu is 67. he is still farming. He got nothing back, and under the way this currently works, there was never a route by which he could have. I want to know what you would have done differently. And I mean that as a real question, not a rhetorical one, because I am not sure I would have caught it either. 80 right answers in a row is a lot of evidence. Let me know in the comments. That's all for this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.